What is good, everybody? It's your boy. It's Joey Fuss. Not Smelly. How dare you call me Kappa Smelly? I will rip your face off. It's Joey Caffarelli. Pour myself some drink. Bother me. I won't bother you. Don't fall, bottle. Stupid bottle. Look at that. I'm all shaved up. I'm all beautified, looking all fresh and so clean. Look at me, baby. Got my baby face on. It's my baby face. If you don't like my baby face, just tell it to me. Oh, my baby face. Oh. Don't look like a caveman anymore. Alright, you silly folks. Let's get into this foolishness. If you're out there, if you're catching me live on Twitch, YouTube, or the Facebooks today. If you would like to join the stream, talk about some bullshit, talk about whatever the F you want, just drop me something in the chat or something, okay? You can join, talk about some shit, bullshit, whatever you want to do, you know. You know Richard Pryor. Alright, forget about all that. Hey, I forget about it, eh? Alright, so, for all you folks out there, if you don't know, now you know. How's that for your spaghetti and meatballs, huh? Hey yo, a spaghetti and meatballs. Alright, so I'm working on a how dare I leave my phone charger over there? What the heck did I do with my phone charger? They must have shoved it in my yes. Whoa, watch your language. I probably put it. Okay. So I'm working on right here. So coming over here to Codecademy. All right. So the code challenge that I'm on right now, it's called the credit card challenge here. So we'll go over the the overview of the actual code challenge here. So the overview, so the overview of this project. The project is slightly different than the others that you've encountered thus far on Codecademy. Instead of a step-by-step tutorial, this project contains an open series of open-ended requirements which describe the project you'll be building. There are many possible ways to correctly fulfill all of these requirements, and you should be expected to use the Internet, Codecademy, and other resources when you encounter a problem that you cannot solve easily. Project goal, context: the company that you work for suspects that the credit card distributors have been mailing out credit cards that have invalid numbers. In this project, you have the role of a clerk who is to check the credit cards are valid. Every other clerk currently checks using pencils and papers, but you'll be optimizing the verification process using the knowledge of functions loops to handle multiple credit cards at a time. Unlike the other clerks, you'll spend the rest of your time just chilling, baby, having some drink. Drink. Sorry, the drink got in the way. Don't make fun of my balding head, everybody. Come on. All right. I know it's embarrassing. All right. As you progress, use your console.logs. Okay. This just goes over some of the setup instructions. If you don't know, I make it easy with CodePen, so even if you want to follow along and you know absolutely nothing about code, I can get you up and fired up in 2 shakes of a lamb feather. Woo! No setup, baby! You just got ice cream. Uh, oh, my hair is a mess. I tell you what, after I cut it, it's like it's sticking up. Like I'm fighting it every day because now it wants to be free again. It doesn't want to be down like it was before when I had all that hair. All right, shut up. Did I drink all my drink? I still got more. I got more drink. All right. So this is a pretty interesting. And I've been working on this. I worked on this. Shoot, I started this when I streamed the other day, right? And I was completing a couple of those functions, right? I was completing that function challenge the other day, and this was right after the function challenge. I started this, and this has been a real fun one. Not fun, well, yeah, fun, but super challenging, which is super good. So here it gives you pretty much like a handful of arrays, all valid, invalid, and then some mystery ones, some invalid and some valid ones here. And these are, supposed to be representing credit card numbers and whatnot. Over here we have a batch. So this is a batch of all these arrays. Okay, so we have a set of arrays, all right, that are inside of an array. Okay, so we've taken single arrays and put them into another array. Okay, so we have I guess you would call it a nested array. Yeah, you call it a nested array. Okay, and I'll pull up this here. So what it wants us to do, so in order to complete this project, you should have complete, yep. So just going through the loops and stuff like that, how to do loops in JavaScript and whatnot. Good stuff. I already went through it and stuff like that. Like I'm at the very tail end of its JavaScript here. So this is the end of JavaScript 2, according to Codecademy's little curriculum there. Yeah. So according to Codecademy's curriculum, I'm at the intermediate phase of my JavaScript ninja lessons here. My Jedi Masters of the JavaScript. So yeah. All right. So I've already done all that. So in here, so let's get started here. So look over the code. There are 15 arrays to each that contain the digits of separated credit card numbers. They all have prefixes that reflect their statuses, i.e. variables that start with valid. So we have 5 valid, 5 invalid, and then 5 mysteries here. Okay. There's also batches of other. There's also a batch array that stores all the provided credit card numbers into a single array. Use these arrays later to check if your functions are working properly. Create a function called valid cred. All right. The primitives of the array that has primitives of the array. The purpose of valid cred is to return true. An array contains digits of a valid credit card number and false of invalid. The function should not mutate. So this is very important. The function should not mutate values of the original array. So however we pass these arrays through our function, man, my hair is sticking up. Whether that be singly or with this batch here, okay? All right, we must make sure that our function does not mutate the original array object, okay? To find out if your credit card number is valid or not, use the Luhn, if I can pronounce that right. Drink. I'm touchy. Drink. So this is a neat little algorithm. So I'll just pull up the wiki real quick. What it pretty much states is working from the rightmost number. Yeah, this is a better one. It gives you right over here. All right. So starting from the furthest digit from the right, the aka the check digit, iterate to the left. As you iterate to the left, every other digit is doubled. Check the digit is not doubled if the number is greater than 9 after doubling. What is up? It is the Shay's husband. How are ya? Metasora. Hua, hua. I am good. How are you today? It is the Shay's husband. The Shay is at work right now. That awesome Shay. She's working her tail. She's working her little tail feather up, shaking a little tail feather. But yeah, Shay's doing good. Shay's doing good. Yeah. So working from the rightmost object in your array object. Every other object is to be doubled. So we have our first object here. All right. So the next object we want doubled. So 9. Ooh, my fat pen. My pen's too fat. All right. So here's our first digit. We have our second digit right here. It wants us to double our second digit. All right. But if our second digit is more than 9, then we minus 9. Obviously, 9 doubled is 18, minus 9 is 9. Move on to the second one. We leave that alone. We return that back. The next digit, again, we double, returns a 10. We minus 9, returns back a 1. Been live streaming on the Twitch? Oh, have you been live streaming? Are you asking, have you been live streaming on Twitch, or has I been live streaming on Twitch? I haven't really been doing any much of live streaming, but I'd be interested to know if you've been live streaming on the Twitch, and what have you been streaming? Me, I bore people to death here, teaching them about code. So yeah, so obviously we can move right down the chain. We'll move down to an interesting one. So obviously here, so we have 3. Again, we're doubling 3. It returns a 6. It's not greater than 9. So again, we return the 6. So what we want to check here at the very end is we want to then sum all the digits together, finally getting ending sum, and then divide that by 10 to see if there's a remainder of 0. So that is how this is the step-by-step. So how your code is supposed to check these credit card numbers to see if it's a valid credit card number. So this is a little bit out of, this was actually pretty fun to think about. Like, okay, so I gotta, iterate over an object array, reverse, and then do some multiplication, and then do some subtraction. So there was some looping, some conditionals in here. I've been live streaming on this with multiverse. What is multiverse? So is that, have you been able to get through to the next universe? Is that what you're saying? Huh, Metal? Have you been able to sneak through the fabric of what I call our reality here? The metaverse. Very interesting. The metalverse or the metaverse? I need more drink in my cup, by the way. So if you got drink, have a drink. Boop. How's the music? Hope it's not too loud for you. You know what's crazy? This music that I'm playing in my background, I'm always getting hit up that I'm probably getting silent right now, but I'm always getting hit up that this is breaking some copyright infringement. But this is this is a service that is AI generated music, and what the problem is what happens is sometimes its beats sound like other people's beats. Might not even be the same. Just sound. The problem is there's so much music these days. It's like impossible to make your own music without being mistakenly copyright infringement on. Pisses me off. All right. So this is the steps here of what our code needs to do. So it was a little bit to think about. Show pretty much again. So start this from the furthest digit to the right, aka the check digit. Iterate to the left. So iterate. Oh, my shoulder just popped out. Oh, Multiverse, the game. Oh, I know what you're talking about. It's like Smash Bros. Oh, Bugs Bunny's in it. That's funny that Bugs Bunny's in it. Oh, my shoulder just popped out. Hold on. A second I lifted up my arm. Yeah, I have a funny story to why this shoulder's always popping out. When I was a little young and I was confused for a monkey, and I used to climb all these trees. And one time, little JoJo was jumping on a tree, and the branch at the very top went beep, and I went beep, all the way to the bottom. And then I caught the final branch, and I ripped my arm right out of my socket. And I didn't hit the ground. Ever since then, though, ooh, sometimes I just get it right. Roll the shoulder out. Oh. So how has the streaming been going on the Twitch? Because I tell you what, it sucks for me. Well, I guess I don't do it. I guess if I would have to recommit. I was doing it for a while daily, and I had a schedule and all built up. Obviously, then life took its toll on me, and steered me in different directions, and I fell off of my consistency. And yeah, it's obviously once you fall off, it's like hard to rebuild the traction that you already rebuilt up on some of those bigger platforms. It sucks for me too. Yeah, I get it. Yeah, it's tough out there. It's tough. Obviously you got to find something that spikes people's interest, or just be some kind of outlandish character that just attracts people in and stuff like that. Some people just get lucky with it. Some people don't. Honestly, I do it just because for some reason, I just have some sick fetish for loving to show people how to code. I don't know what it is. Honestly, it helps me for some reason when I do it for just the pure reason it forces me to remember things better when I do this coding shit. So there's like a meaning, there's like a rhyme behind my madness, or a meaning behind my madness, whatever you want to call it. And some of it is obviously I'm looking, to hopefully, maybe. Reach out to somebody who else is, has interest in this too. And, I'm still looking for work too. Obviously, work's always tough right now. Work's always has been tough to come by. So, doing this shit here, I would love to hopefully land a gig doing this shit. Shay's doing great. Well, yeah, she's doing good. That girl works her tail off. I'll tell you. She's pulling 2 gigs right now. She's swinging coffee in the morning and throwing around, working in a warehouse at night. That girl, she's amazing. She's a beautiful woman. I love her. I love her to death. She just had a recent. She just had a recent loss in her family. So if anybody out there who does know Shay, I'm saying you haven't talked in a while, make sure you show her some love. She had another recent loss in her family. She had, seems like every year now she has another loss. But that girl is a tough cookie though. She takes it in strides, and nothing can put her down, man. I tell you. I've been. Let me see. I'm going on. Yeah, I've been with, me and her have been married 14 years now. We've been married now. It's a long time, and I tell you what, those have been some hard 14 years. Hard 14 years, but you know what? We're better people for it, I tell you. No matter what's happened between us. All right, let's get, man. Thank you for talking to me. I appreciate that, man, so much. I appreciate the conversation. All right, so pretty much just like the graphic here, pretty much goes over with what our function needs to be able to achieve here. It just goes over that again. Starting from the rightmost digit, we iterate over to the next one, double, skip, double, skip, double, skip, double. Anything greater after doubling, anything greater than 9, we have to reduce by 9. And at the end, sum them up, okay? The sum of it, the mandula, not the mandula amaranta, but the mandula, which is this symbol right here. Where are you? It's pretty much like the percent sign. What it returns back is the remainder of whatever you divide your thing by. So you divide 2 by 7. You know what I'm saying? It's going to return a 1. You know what I'm saying? Because 2 goes into 7 6 times evenly, and it's going to return 1 as a remainder. So that's so it's looking for anything divisible by 10 returns a 0, which would be a valid credit card number. All right, so that's as far as I've gotten. This next function here, actually these next 2 functions I'm going to be working on next, and that's what I kind of want to go over while I'm streaming tonight. So this next function I already have sort of kind of created. You'll see here very shortly. I'll go into my code on what I've gotten so far. And anybody out there who knows anything about JavaScript or Python is so very similar to JavaScript and stuff like that. Very, very close. Obviously, Python is a whole nother bag of, I don't want to say bag of pickles, but it's a whole another bag of things because you got a library and stuff like that. Python's awesome. I love it. Python's just a whole nother bag of everything. But yeah, so this pretty much next function that I'm going to be working on is invalid card copy. So what we're going to be looking for, and this is what we'll be working on tonight, is going to be looking for the first digit of the original object. Okay, so remember that was something I said in the very beginning here. Where did I say that? Okay, there it is right there. So the function should not mutate the values of the original. All right. So in JavaScript, things are mutable. Arrays and objects are pretty much everything in JavaScript for the most part. Yeah, because even classes are objects. Because everything pretty much in JavaScript is an object, and every object in JavaScript is pretty much mutable. Mutable meaning it can be changed. So when you create an object in JavaScript, that the objects inside of that, the values in that object get saved. It points. It's like pointers. Like it's getting saved in memory, and it points to that. So if you create like another instance, because you can create another pretty much copies of objects and arrays, but they're mutable. There's ways around it, especially with this. There's real easy ways around creating clone. I don't know if it'd be copies, because a clone, I don't know like how I would say it. It's like if I was to like, if I had a twin and that twin stubbed his toe, my toe would be stubbed too. Okay, so that's what it is. Like, even though my twin is my twin, if he stubbed his toe, my toe would be stubbed. If I stubbed my finger, his finger would be stubbed. All right. What you don't want, we don't want that though. We want to avoid creating, we want to avoid mutating our arrays or objects, okay? So that's one big part of this puzzle here, was not mutating these objects, okay? Because it's very easy to, once you start doing stuff, it's really easy to start mutating objects and not in getting, you know. I got messed up on that, trust me. It just took me till this morning to figure out where I was going wrong with my code. Here, let's go to my code here. So I copied right over all of the batch numbers and stuff like that, just so I can work within the parameters of here. And I also, what I did was I made this one, I already erased it, but I made this one too because I already had it returning a 100, so I can get a valid 0. Now this, I've already refactored this a couple times because this was a hot mess. This is because to loop over, again, this was good to work with, you know, looping over and iterating and stuff like that, and I'll explain that. One of the most important things here is understanding shallow copy and deep copy. All right, because one thing, what we're working with is one thing I had to figure out what I was working with. We're working with a nested array because we're taking all of these arrays, all right, and nesting them into another array called batch here. Okay, so we're pretty much taking all of our credit card numbers and putting them all in one file. Simple and easy, right? Simple and easy. All right. The problem is these are all mutable. Mutable meaning these can be changed by whatever I do to them. Okay, so by me just, even if I was to make this a copy, it still affects the values of these. Okay, now you need to make again, clone and copy is very hard to me to decipher on how this really plays out. It's like, I want to take a picture of these objects and be able to assign that to another person. Like, I want to be able to take a picture of your face and assign that to another person, but then to be able to do what I wanted to do it after that. Like if I wanted to make your lips bigger or whatnot. You know what I'm saying? If I think your lips don't look so good, I want to make them look better. But yeah, so that's pretty much, but not affect you. You know what I'm saying? So that was one thing here. So that gets into shallow copy, deep copy. Drink is so good. And shallow copy and deep copy would be a real good thing for first. Let me just comment these real quick. All right, so we got shallow copy and we got deep copy. Now, if we want to think about a regular array, so we can take, say, valid 1 here as a regular array, and this batch here as a nested array. Now, if we come over here and let's do this. say valid. All right, we'll run that, and it's going to return to us. All right, it's going to return to us the same instance of this array here. Okay, exactly the same. All right, now let's do this. Let's run this through our shallow copy. Now our shallow copy, because this is not a nested array, it will actually make a clone copy. I'm going to call it clone copy. Again, I'm not too sure how I'm using my my verbiage here. So let's just create another instance. We'll say clone copy, clone CP. All right, and we're going to equal that to the shallow copy of, again, we'll say valid 1 here, and we'll console that to the log. We'll log that to the console, not console that to the log. All right, we can see that this is going to return the same exact object here. All right, so same exact object here. All right. Now, if I come over here and I say clone object, and I want to say, so we're going to change the 4 to a 5. So that would be at integer 0 here. All right. Oh, I'll log it again right now. All right, it's going to return 5. Okay, so remember, we changed the first integer to a 5. Okay, now if we clone, well, if we log the value 1 again, valid 1 again, sorry. It should return the original object. It should return the 5.4 original object. So it returns the original object. Now, remember, this is because it is not a nested array. Now, once we get into nested arrays, this shallow copy function here. Now, the shallow copy function is probably the easiest way I can make a shallow copy here. So there's a couple of different ways to make a shallow copy. You can do it with splice. You can do it. Now there's a handful of ways you can make a shallow copy. But this is just one of the ways I found it real simple. Just pretty much map. All right, and you're returning the integer. So map is it integers over an array object. So, well, in arrays, yeah, whatever you want to call it. Integers, it integers over each object in an array. All right, so in that is captured in that X, so whatever you num X, Y, Z, 00, YP, whatever you want to call it, and with these higher functions, these are called higher functions. There's an automatic they do an automatic return function within these higher functions, so you don't even have to apply a return to these. All right, so if we just return X as that value that it's already integered over, and that gets mapped over to whatever, to the copy, and then my function here just returns the copy of whatever you want to just returns the copy of. But yeah, so this is my sweet and simple shallow copy function there. Sweet, super simple, but again, it won't work. Now, if we come over here, just to get rid of all this. Let's clear this out. All right, now let's go over to batch. All right, so we have batch. Now we can access valid one again too. So we come over here. So at the first, again, we're working within, and now we're working within a nested array. Okay, so we can access. All right, we can access that through its. So now we can break it down. Okay, so now with the square brackets, you can access into your arrays. Okay, so we're accessing batch. Okay, and we're accessing the zero. Zero being it's the first one. So zero in programming is zero. So first in programming is zero. We're accessing the zero integer here. Okay, and it's going to return back valid one here. So 543 ending in 08 6808. Okay, 6808. Okay. Now again, if we were to come over here though, so and we were to make a I'm going to call it bad copy equal to shallow copy batch. All right, let me just do this first. Let me show you the whole bash. Oh, it's going to return both. Let me show you bash, the whole batch object altogether. There's 15 objects in it. All right, so there's 15 objects in the array object. So pretty much consisting of our 5, 5, and 5. All right, so these are all the objects here. So again, that's the batch right there. Now we can comment that out. We've made our new bad copy here. We can print that. We'll run that. It's going to be the and it's going to return back the same exact. Okay. So again, it looks like we did a good job, right? So it's returning back the same thing. It looks like you copied it perfectly. Okay. Now this is what it was This is where I was stuck at, because again, remember, like I said, there's a handful of ways to do this. There's a handful of ways to copy over an object. Okay, you can do it splice, you can do it. There's many ways to do it. Again, I just do it with map, But again, there's a couple different ways to do it. But let me show you. Okay, let me show you where I was getting messed up at. Now again, remember, it's returning back the same objects here. Okay. All right. Now again, I can let me cancel this out. I can access. So we're going to call bad copy again. We're going to call it on our number 0. Okay, the first one. All right, it's going to return this object back. Okay, same exact object. 453, 6808, ending in 6808. Okay. Now again, let's mutate that. Okay. Let's say bad copy. Now again, if we want to access this integer within that, all we got to do, okay, is add another square bracket. Okay, so this is the 0. Again, in programming, 0 is 1. Okay, 0 is 1. Okay, all right. So we are in our 0 integer, looking for our 0, our first integer. Okay. All right. we'll equal that to 5, like we did before, okay? And we'll console.log the same thing we just did. All right. Now it's going to return that the same thing, but with a 5 in the first spot. Okay, so we have a 5 in the first spot. Okay. Now remember when we did this as a shallow. Now when we did this against the original array, not against the nested array, it returned back its original state. Okay, back to the 4. Okay. Now though, if we come over here and we console log bash, okay, accessing it at the same position, it's going to return back the same exact object. Okay, now watch. Same exact object because it mutated it. It mutated the object. Again, even though we copied it here to bad copy, okay, against this shallow copy function, and we mutated this object. We mutated it. Remember, the original object had a 4 here. We mutated it to a 5. It, because it's a shallow copy, mutated the, okay, so again, where it's pointing to, it mutated the original object to 5 as well. Okay, now this was messing me up, and again, I haven't even gotten into the rest of my function. Now this was the least of my concerns in the beginning of what I was doing, in the beginning of when I was building this. Okay, but it turned into an issue for the next step, and the next step is what we're going to be working on tonight, which is finding the first integer to see if it was valid. Now, if I had done that off the rip, that's a little bit different. You know what I'm saying? But again, it states specifically in the beginning of this instructions that you are not to mutate the original object, okay? And as my code progressed, I completely mutated the original object. Completely mutated it to a point where I couldn't get back to those values unless I did some kind of crazy mathematical function that reverts back to the original values. Now, I could have done that, but that's not what the instructions were, and it's not what the code. The code, again, it would have taken that. It's just that much more code, which you don't want. So it took me legitimately all morning. I was looking at this, looking at that, scouring Stack Overflow, and stuff like that, and I finally just stumbled upon it. It was on Free Codecamp. It's actually on freecodecamp.com. That guy over there, I'll tell you, he whips up some shot. He's been doing it for years too. He whips up. There's a well of knowledge on Free Codecamp. A well of knowledge, I tell you, they make some good stuff over there, and that's where I discovered it. It was a simple, easy explanation, and I understood what was happening through it. Now, okay, so yeah, so as long as everybody, as long as you understand where I'm pretty much going with that. If you don't understand. So let's get into deep copy now. So we have deep copy, okay? Now again, we went over shallow copy. Now we want to get, this is where I had to get to the next level of what my understanding was and how to really, I guess, work with objects, work with arrays, because you don't want to be mutating them. You know what I'm saying? That's the thing. Like, you don't want to be messing with the numbers you're dealing with. Like, you can always make a copy. You might as well just make a copy and then work with that copy. Don't mutate your original, because if you have to go back by an instance and go back to your original data for some reason, you don't want to be dealing with mutated objects at all. You don't want to be dealing with that. Because you probably won't find out, if you need deep in 1,000 lines of code, good luck trying to, you probably be able to. Some people are brilliant. I'm not. But yeah, I don't want to be start mutating objects and stuff like that. So let's talk about decopy. All right. So to talk about decopy, we've got to pull up a couple things. So we got two big things. So we got JSON.parse and JSON.stringify. So JSON.parse method parses a JSON string constructing the JavaScript value of an object describing by a string. An optional reviver function can provide the function of transformation of the resulting. So pretty much, this is. Let me look up stringify first. Would be the right one to look up first. So JSON.stringify pretty much converts a JavaScript object of value to a JSON string. All right, optional replacing the values, and yeah, so it converts those objects into a string. Okay, so now we have a clean JSON string. All right, it's not connected. It's not pointing to anything. That's the thing that we want to. All right, it's creating a string out of whatever's in our array. All right, it's not cloning, copying these objects. It's just creating a string of what is in our array. All right, and then when we go, that's why I needed to do JSON stringify before I did parse. So then parse reverts the string back into an array or an object or whatever have you. All right, so we take our string, we convert our array into a string, and then we take that string now and convert that into an array, and then assign that to a whole new brand new object. And I tell you, it was like the lights turned on when he explained it. It was like, that's what I was missing this whole time. Because again, it has nothing to do with that other object. Nothing at all. It's just like it's taking a picture. All right, it's taking a picture of what's in that object, converting that back into original objects, and then assigning that to something else. Okay, that's what it was like. It's like 3D printing them or something. I don't know. It's hard for me to describe because it's not cloning or copying. It's pretty much I take a picture. From that picture I then convert that into something else. So with decopy, okay, I call it decopy because that's pretty much what it's doing. It's deep copying here. Again, we taking our whatever we pass through our function deep copy here. We're taking that. Like I said, we're taking a picture. We're turning it into a string. Okay. Then we're parsing that out. All right, and it's pretty much we're reverting that back into another object here, and I'm just dumping it back into call it again copy me, and I'm just returning it. Okay. Now come over here. Better copy equals. Again, we'll just run this. You're going to see that it returns our batch. Okay. Now what's copy? Same thing. We're just going to go back and revert that same first object to a 5. Okay. All right, it's going to return that first object with a 5 in the first spot. Okay. All right. Now if we come over here, all right, so we can receive that we return, let me just clear this out again. Return a 5 and a 4. So showing you that, again, we were able to change that on our better copy, okay, to a 5, all right? But then when we return it on batch, look what it shows, an unmutated 4. So it's left that copy alone. Again, let's just show you the full object. Let me take my word for it. Again, it returns a 5, and the original batch returns a 4. So there we go. So with using the JSON stringify, again, it's like taking a picture, all right, of what's in our objects, our nested object arrays, all right, and then we parse that back into whatever data we're going to return. In this case, we're returning it back as another array object here. Okay, it creates a deep copy for us to work on, and this was one of the biggest parts of the code. But again, it wasn't holding me back from where from what I was working from, just creating the algorithm itself. So this algorithm itself, where we iterate, we need to do a reverse iteration, all right, starting from the last integer, all right, working to the next one, but then doubling over every other, all right. And it was confusing, trust me. And this is what it came into thinking about loops and stuff like that. A couple different loops. So you see, I have a for loop. I have a do while loop inside of a for loop, and I'll explain to that after this short drink. Drink. Okay. All right. So we have our function here. So the valid cred function here. It just right off the rip, what you'll see some of my functions. I like to just set up. It's like I like to give myself some playing room with things. I'll like when I set up my functions, like I'll build. It's like when I think about these functions, I think about like a machine, like a kind of like a, how do I explain it? Like if you ever been inside like a factory and you see like a piece get chopped like in half, and then you'll see that half piece get pushed over down a conveyor belt to another thing that'll like drill it or something like that. So when I think about these functions, it's like I try to put my mindset of what like how machines work, and like what you kind of want, like some wiggle room to play with in the beginning of building these machines, because you have to like you're trying to test it out, like how it's going to work. So again, usually in the beginning of my functions, you'll see that I'll create some extra variables. Now, when I first started building these functions out, especially with this one, I created a handful of extra variables just to give myself some room so I could add things to things and stuff like that. And this is where the mutating was messing me up. But again, it wasn't messing me up in the beginning because I wasn't really I didn't care about not mutating the object. I just cared about getting the algorithm, this algorithm down, all right, whatever they want to call it. It's like the what do they call it? Again, it's called the Luhn algorithm here. Okay, Luhn. I can't pronounce that. And again, I've already explained it a couple times. Whatever. But so, because I'm horrible at math and I can't ever figure anything out with math, I wish I was better at math. I just failed college algebra for stinking sake, and I was so mad at myself. It is funny because I just passed the next advanced part of algebra, but I failed the beginner part. But I only failed it because it was my stupid mistake anyways. I was late for a class and I didn't return the assignment back in time, and it's like, okay, whatever. But that's beside the case. But nonetheless, I wish I was better at math. So, because I'm horrible at math, I was trying to think of like for loops and in loops. Like, I don't know. For some reason, I'm horrible at math, but I can like think about like how these functions, like how to like work these functions. I'm pretty sure there's people that are way better at this than me. I'm horrible at this. Don't get me wrong, guys. I'm probably stupid. I am pretty stupid, actually. I don't want to say what I wanted to say about myself. Okay, whatever. All right. So I get some empty variables here. So we got a sum, just an empty array. I got a I. Usually I represents integer. So I got an empty I representing an integer value, and I just have it set at 0. Okay. Now, again, this was the very last bit that I just added through this. I was working with this. Now, it didn't even matter that I was using my shallow cop, pretty much this function within this code anyways, because it was still returning I was still mutating the original object no matter what. So no matter what, I had already altered the object, but nonetheless, I've already fixed it. So now I don't alter the object. Now my open object here is completely its own object. Okay. Now whatever happens after that is where my code went from there. Okay. So this was the newest addition to it. Okay. Which again didn't take away from where the code was going. Okay. It's gonna add to where we're gonna be at tonight and continuing on. Okay. And again, like I explained, I give myself some room when I build out these functions, and I just kept on adding. Now this second open object, I could probably refactor it, and I might refactor it tonight, where I can probably get rid of this second open object here altogether, because I think now it doesn't even make sense that it's even here, and I'll get into that here in a second. I just need a drink. Oh, I need more drink, guys. You guys need to send me drinks. Send Joe drinks. Makes Joe happy. Joe's belly full of drinks is happy Joe. Joe needs more drink. Joe's out of drink. Well, this is it. So, cheers, mate. I don't know why I did an Australian accent. That was weird. Oh, I just popped my stupid shoulder out again. All right. So this was pretty much the beginning of the soup and potatoes, not soup and nuts. Who puts nuts in their soup? Who puts nuts in their soup? That's dirty soup full of nuts. All right. Are they all right? I just heard a big boom. I hope nobody's kicking in my doors. FBI, open up! Boom, motherfucker! Funny story. I don't know if I should tell you right now. All right, let's get into this though. All right, so this is where our function pretty much begins. So we have our first for loop there. So again, I'm horrible at math, so I really needed to think on how this was gonna work with a for loop, because there was no possible way I was gonna be able to figure this out with math. And I mean, I'm pretty sure there's some people out there who know math who's like, oh, Joe, well, if this and times this by this, multiply this. Yeah, I suck at math, guys. Just an FYI. So I had to do this with a for loop. All right. There's a couple spots though where you're gonna see some of these integer markers. So I have a couple integer markers. So I have an integer marker here, I, J, V. Okay. There's another integer marker down here, but that really don't matter until later on. Okay. Now, where they are super important into your loops and your functions and stuff like that. And you got to kind of think of, when you're working with loops, it can get confusing real fast when you're working with loops. It confuses me sometimes. Sometimes I get caught up on where you're at when you're in a loop, okay? Because there's ways to work with loops, so you can work within a loop, okay? Or you can work in conjunction with a loop, okay? Now it's all on where you kind of want to be within that. It is the shade. Hold on one second, baby. I'm gonna put my headphones on. Are you out of work?
Yeah, I'm out of work, baby.
Ooh. Say hi to Meadow. Meadow was joining my stream tonight.
Hi, Meadow.
Probably been a while. She said, "What's up?" She said hi. She's asked how you were doing.
I'm good, Meadow. I miss your face, Meadow. Love you.
Oh, Meadow. Shay says she loves you. I don't even get that, Meadow.
I love you, Heavy.
Thank you, baby. I love you too. Hold on, let me put up my headphones on, baby. Yeah, he's the one that played with the kids and stuff like that, right? On Fortnite and whatnot. All right. So, where was I? So yeah, I'm just streaming right now, baby. All right. I got rasps and stuff like that still. I didn't blow through them all. Can you pick up beer? Ah! Are you driving a motorcycle right now? I said, are you driving a motorcycle right now? So just FYI, guys. So my awesome wife is coming up from work, and we have a blown wheel bearing on our driver's side. It legitimately sounds like she's driving a motorcycle right now on her way home. She's on her way home because, well, she got out, but secondly, is right after she gets home, I got to go out there tonight and get started working on this wheel bearing, so that way she can go to work in the morning, because she's crazy. But yeah, so that's going to be interesting tonight to work on that. Huh? All right, baby. I love you. Give me a shot when you get home, okay? All right, baby. I love you. Love you. That's the most awesomest, my most awesomest wifefess, the Shay Bay herself. Ugh, they mess up my beautiful balding head. Tim Pool's streaming right now, isn't he? Let's check who's on the show tonight. Who's on the show? Bethany Mendel is on Tim Pool tonight. Should be a good show. Laura Sutherland is live too right now too. Look at her. You go, Laura. All right. So just to finish up here, I know it's kind of like a long talking, but it's it's kind of important to talk about where we're going with this, or it makes no sense if we don't. Because if you just look at this, sometimes you can just look at code and be like, what is this even doing, guy? All right, so we have our first for loop. We have our integer. Now again, remember I was saying the integers are very important where they're at because of where we're at in our for loop. Now, I didn't have to place this out here, but there's a reason for that. Again, I guess I didn't. I guess I could refactor it back into here, but I may want to access it though. That's the thing. I may want to access it later. So that's the thing with these integer values on what they can do for you. There's some power behind it. Obviously, there's power behind everything. So pretty much my integer is starting at 0, and I want it to pretty much every time it integers, if it's lesser than the object dot length. So this object, the object is it's 15 because there's 5, 5, and 5. Okay, so there's 5 value, there's 5 valid, 5 invalid, 5 mystery. So it's 15 altogether. All right. So for this loop is going to integer. It's going to loop 15 times. Okay. Now within those 15 loops, I knew there was because this is so. Once I loop over that, that's where I was like, okay. Once I make my first loop. This is where I need to make a lot of my. I need to access a lot of the values within this first loop to start doing some of the work here. It's like getting the wheels turning. If you're gonna understand what I'm saying, it's like once I got my wheels turning, I need to do something. You know what I'm saying? I got to make this work something. So I added some more values. Again, I was just giving myself some wiggle room here. Okay, I got my wheels turning, got my wiggle room, gave myself some value. So I gave myself another empty integer. Okay, I gave myself 2. Okay, now this took place a little bit later. It took me a little bit. This is when I was trying to think of how to reverse things. Okay, now the J, where does the J come into place? The J comes in place at the end. Now I'll explain the J. Okay, the J is one of the most important parts of this whole puzzle here. Okay, but the V is important. Okay, so the V int was going to be the last integer. Okay, now remember, we have to access this object. We have to access the very last integer of that object and then skip over and double that, and then skip over and double that. Okay, so naturally when you're working with these objects, they naturally want to work from left to right. They don't naturally want to work right from left. Well, I guess it's all on how you code it. You know what I'm saying? But for the most part, it's naturally to work right from left. It's just natural. It's unnatural to work the other way. Okay, but this is, if you don't, on this circumstance, you will get the wrong value. Okay, so if you work the other way around, it's completely a different value. All right, and because that's how I did it in the beginning when I was working with this is, I hate these headphones. Cheap old headphones. Squeezing my big fat Italian ears too much. I got those stupid Italian ears. They're just fat Italian ears. I need more beer. The wife won't get me beer, but she wants me to work in her car tonight. Damn woman. All right. So yeah. So again, it's important to, if you're gonna follow this, it's important. I mean, the algorithm, I had to get it right, no matter what. There was no other way around it. Either I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna follow this to the T, or what. So again, so we have V. I just fucked it. So we have V. Now where we want to be with v, again, so we want to go to the very last integer. Now, again, you got to remember when you return the length of an object in JavaScript, okay? When you return the length of an object in JavaScript, say you have two objects in there. When you return the length, it's going to tell you 2. It's going to give you back 2 because the length is 2, right? But the placement in those is 0, 1. All right? It's not 2. The length is 2. It's because it's 2 objects. But the integers inside of that object to attain those values is 1 less. Okay? Because everything starts again. Everything starts at 0. Okay? So if everything starts at 0, all right? If everything starts at 0 when we return this length, it's plus 1. So we have to take away another one. So, okay, so once we get right here, the v value is right here. It's the second value. That's what we needed to get at. We needed to get to the second value. And then once we got there, then we did our multiplication. So we access our second value. We multiply that by 2. Now, again, conditions within this algorithm is when if that value was greater than 9, we had to reduce that value by 9. Okay, so again, if the value is greater than 9, reduced by 9. Simple and easy, right? So within this do while loop, because remember, we're already in a loop. We're already in a loop. So this do while loop is acting within the first loop. So we're in a loop. This do while loop is doing something within the first loop. So while we're still in this first loop, this do while loop is going through our object here, okay, and iterating through these every other, okay, iteration of that object in reverse, multiplying it by 2, okay, and if that object, once it returns, is greater than 9, we reduce it by 9, else it just gets pushed right back onto that object, okay? All right? But now, what we have to take in mind is, again, we have to reduce, again, we're still in this do, all right? Because now we don't have access to this value, okay? We have no access to this, okay? Because this is still existing within this loop, the first loop here. So within this first loop encompasses here, and our do while is happening within here, okay? So again, these values exist and are only attainable within our first loop, okay? All right, which is fine because they set the ballpark of where we need to be at, okay? So we have to, what I was thinking was, okay, I'm accessing these values. Now I want these values to continue to double over, okay? So I added, now I could have done a +2. I just like the way the v minus looks, okay? I just like the way it looks. I don't know why. I could add the v equals, you know, v minus 2 equals times. I just like the whole, it just describes on what it's doing. It's taking away 2 positional positions from that, okay? So then we can return the next doubled integer, okay? Well, would be, so we would be at 9, it'd be at 5 now, and we double that. All right. Now we have to make, now j on the other instance is that same object length minus 1, okay? Now again, when you return the object length, it's the object itself. So if you were to like lay it on the floor, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, yeah, that's the object. But again, in programming, everything starts off with 0, okay? So because everything starts off at 0, I want to get to the specific length of it. So my object is length specifically that I'm returning. So while, because, so again, while, so once we get to our first loop, I'm pretty much locked in here. Once we get to our first loop, I'm in here. I'm in, it's just, I am, it's, this do while is inside, it's doing work for that first loop, okay? So that first loop just happened. My do while is affecting what's happening inside of that first loop, and we're working with these values in here. All right, and because now I have access to those values, I only want access up until that point of that object. Okay, I don't want to work anything else because I'm returning null. I'm going to be returning nulls after that. Okay, so I don't want returning any null values or anything like that and messing up my code or anything like that. So again, do while this is happening. Once we break out of that, now we return back. Let me change that color back to the original. We return back to our for loop. And once we return back to our for loop, this is why I kept the values within the for loop. The J integer value goes back to 0. Very important, because now we're starting with a whole new, it pretty much goes from there, and then we start working on this value right here, okay? So I want to, it's like we're setting the slate clean. Like, again, if we're thinking about what it's like to be working on like an assembly line, you know what I'm saying? Like, we have the product come down, we do the couple things to it, the product goes down to the next thing, it gets a couple things to it. But again, where I was just doing my couple things, the next product that comes down, I have to start back at the first step again and do my couple things. I can't just start at the last. You know what I'm saying? It just doesn't work like that. I have to start from the beginning again. So that's why my values have to be pretty much eradicated and reverted back to originals, okay? So we revert back to now the next object's length, -2. So we're starting again from afresh, okay? I know that kind of seemed like a lot, but it's important to go into how this is working and stuff like that, okay? Now, once the first loop happens, this is where I can probably eliminate my object.to here, okay? Because it really doesn't matter that I push these objects to my object.to, because honestly, these objects are going to be mutated on my object.1. No matter, regardless, it's going to be, they're automatically going to be mutated. And I learned that because of how, when I was beginning, I was mutating these values right off the rip. You know what I'm saying? By whatever I was doing within these loops originally. So, again, I could probably get rid of this whole part right here, but then keep this part. So this is another part, because then remember the next part is we add all the values together from that object already, okay? So, again, working with some of the higher functions, there are some higher functions that make these processes super easy. You just gotta look for them. You know what I'm saying? There's some super easy higher functions that are pre-built into vanilla JavaScript that handle some of these, and the specific one here is reduce. Okay, and I'll pull up the documentation for reduce so you can take a look at it with me. All right, so reduce method executes a user-specified reducer callback functions on each element of an array in order, passing the return value from the calculations of the preceding element. The final result of running the reducer across elements is array of a single value. All right. Now, what reducer takes in is it takes in two arguments. Okay, the two arguments are previous value, current value. Previous value, current value. Okay. So if we need to add things together, we need to add 8 plus 5. Okay, now whatever that equals, plus 6, whatever that equals, plus 9, plus 3, all the way down when we get to our very last value. Okay, now you could do some for iterations and stuff like that, some for loops and stuff like that to get to that. But again, working with JavaScript's built-in higher functions, you just gotta look for what you're trying to achieve. For most situations, there's some kind of other method or argument method that will get you to where you kind of want to be. Okay, so again, the reduce method takes in two arguments. Okay, all right, and again, all these higher functions, all right, they do an automatic return. They always do an automatic return. All right, so you can give it whatever argument you want here. So in here, we're going to give it a it's pretty much what I'm giving it here. It's previous value, current value, plus. All right, and the starting is 0. So I'm starting at 0 because I'm not trying to add anything to what I'm trying to do here. I just want to get, again, the sum of all my numbers in my new array object that I've just created. All right. Now, again, I can probably get rid of this object, my object 2 here, because it's just pushing it to this empty object here. That doesn't matter. Yeah, it really doesn't matter. Obviously, I would just have to change some of this stuff around to object 1 again. But yeah, so that's kind of where that's at. But the next, once we've gotten there, now, and I'm gonna work on this in a second.
Scratch my big hairy feet because they're itchy. I don't know why. It's probably the athlete's feet. I don't have athlete's feet. Just joking. But my feet are itchies. I don't have athletic feet. I got flat feet. They're not very athletic. They're flat. They're just itchy. That was my Trump impression.
Let's do this. All right. This is just so what I wanted to show you is just what exactly. So once we get here, now again, the next and final part of this function argument here is to divide by 10, and valid cards return as 0 because it's divisible by 10, and the other thing like that is not valid. So easy enough. We just I just pushed it to a new sum object. Again, this is completely mutating all of these objects, and this wasn't what I was intending to do with all of it. It's just, this is what initially happened when I was working with all my objects in here. Now again, this is where it's going to be going back and refactoring all this code to kind of fix some of these mistakes I was built in the beginning. But again, I was just aiming to get this algorithm down, which we achieved. Okay, we achieved the algorithm perfectly. All right, so once we get here, we push everything to sum, creating just a whole new array. All right, now I just want an array created of what everything is divisible by 10. Okay, and I'm just returning that in sum. Now if we run that, we're going to get a single array of 15 objects. Okay, single array of 15 objects here. Now remember, if the value returns back as 0, we have a valid card. If it any other value but 0 is an invalid card. Now, if we go back here, we can see that our 5 valids show up valid, show up at zeros, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Our 5 invalid, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 show up as invalid. And then our mysteries show up as invalid, valid, invalid, invalid, invalid. So our algorithm, as it pertains to the, what is it called again? The Luhn algorithm is on point. All right, so we have it on point now. I could have left it at that and said, "Hey, it's returning, it's working." You know what I'm saying? It's returning exactly what it was supposed to. But again, a lot of it in the beginning of what I was doing, it was totally mutating everything because I didn't have this. I was missing this, and I was mutating my objects because I was convinced that this wasn't mutating my objects. I was convinced that performing these shallow copies wasn't mutating my objects, when it was mutating everything I was doing. Okay. Now that we have access to that again, we can go from there. We can go from there. I said we can go from there. I take drink. All right. So the next part. Actually, let's do this then. Real quick. All right. Do I want to maintain creating a new object, or just do I want to just push object 1? Yeah, let's try this. Let me think about this for a second. All right. The reason why that returned a bunch of not a numbers I understand why. See, even when I'm doing my own code, I have to go back and figure out why I did something. So, let me just not cover my mic like this. Okay. This is why it worked when it did work. Because I'm pushing it as soon as it comes out of this loop. Yeah. I'm pushing the value to object 2. Again, I have to just think about my loops. Yeah, I'm pushing the value to 2, and then from there, that's when it gets 1. Okay, so I'm just gonna leave it for there for now. I guess.
I guess it's working. It is working. Damn it, man. Have some confidence in yourself.
All right. I need to smoke. I really do. Need more beer too.
That was the last sip of beer.
All right. So we want to now look for invalid credit card companies. So we have a couple of values here. We have 3, 4, 5, and 6. 3 returns Amex. 4 returns Visa. 5 returns MasterCard, and 6 returns Discover. If the numbers don't start with any of these values, print out the message, company not found. Okay, so it should return an array of companies. So invalid. So it should return a value of the invalid. All right, shouldn't return any duplicate values at all. So do I want to rebuild that inside of my function? So this is where I was kind of going with that. I want to build that inside of my function, set up in a whole other function itself. Or I can just call it within my function and have it called upon, yeah, I could do that. Alright, so let's make the optic 1. Again, just give ourselves some space. Is that you, baby?
Honey, I gotta show you something on the screen. I found the coolest thing over.
I'm done.
Coolest thing. Don't jump and don't scream. Look at that.
Get out of here, guy! No! Go away from me!
Look at that, guys.
What is that thing? That thing is humongous!
That's a moth.
Are you trying to kill me? Come on! Come on! Are you serious right now? Get that out of here! It doesn't deserve to be in the same room as me!
Guys, he's afraid of this.
Come on! Get away! Get out of here! That's funny!
It is fun.
Bad joke, buddy.
Not a bad joke.
She's awful. Awful, I tell you. I get no respect. None at all. A giant moth alert. Oh, Louie here. Giant moth. Dude, I hate moths.
You wanna look so pretty in the light.
I look so pretty in the light.
You know, I'm pretty.
I'm a beautiful princess. Just look at me. All right. Let's go. All right, everybody. It's been real. It's been fun. It's been an experience.
Now you see what he's afraid of. Just send him pictures of him.
Oh, snap. Oh, Louis said, what's up, J-Dog?
How are you, Louie?
You should give me a call, my guy. You got my number?
You got his name.
Hit me up. You do have my name. We all have the same last name. Smoke break.
I just got done working all day. Yeah.
I got a rolling, baby. All right, everybody. Till next time. Love, peace, and some
And chicken grease.
motherfucking chicken grease. Peace out.